Right now, there's a pretty big storm moving into California, and I was talking about the blizzard warning that's covering the entire Sierra on the news today, and a few places even have avalanche warnings as well. So I just started to dive into the science behind blizzards and avalanches so that I'd have some interesting things to say on the news. And I ended up learning a lot about avalanches that I didn't know, so I thought I would just do a quick explainer video trying to take what I learned. Now, don't really need to explain what an avalanche is. Most people know that it's basically where you get a big slab of snow sliding down the side of a mountain, and they can be extremely dangerous. About 30 people die per year in the United States because of avalanches. But just looking at the science behind them, let's just create a fresh layer here, and we'll kind of dive into what's actually going on. So let's draw three different mountains right here. We'll put one mountain like this. We'll put a mountain like this. And we'll do a mountain like this. And I'll just color these in real quick. Now obviously there's going to be some snow on these mountains, and we're going to talk about which ones are most likely to have an avalanche. Now first, one of these probably sounds pretty intuitive, but then one of them I would say maybe isn't as intuitive. Alright, so number one, let's label these down here. 1, 2, 3. These are our three different mountains. Let's think about number one. Are you going to have an avalanche there? No. And that probably makes sense to a lot of people. You need a slope in order for the snow to be able to slide down. So that one, not going to have an avalanche because the slope is too small. It is less than 25 degrees. Now what about number two? Now at first glance you might say, oh, this is exactly the place that you would have an avalanche. It's so steep that would be easy for snow to just slide down and surprise some unlucky skiers or snowboarders out there. But interestingly, this one will also not have avalanches because it's greater than 60 degrees. The reason for that is the slope is actually so great that you just constantly have snow falling down. You're not able to build up the snow enough in order to create like a slab that is then going to fall down all at one time. So that's the difference there, whereas number three is unfortunately exactly where you're going to see avalanches. The reason for that, it is because it is between 25 and 60 degrees, but especially because it's between 35 and 45 degrees. Most avalanches occur in that range right there. So now that we know where an avalanche might occur, let's create another fresh dashboard here. And let's think about what's actually going on when you have an avalanche. And another very interesting factor that I didn't think about. So let's just draw the side of a mountain right here. Let's see if I can drag that in. All right, so we pick up a large amount of snow towards the start of winter. This is our snowpack right here. So that's our snowpack on the mountain. And our slope looks to be somewhat between 35 and 45 degrees. So it's in that territory where you could get an avalanche. Now what can happen on this is you get a little layer of what's called hoarfrost that can form on there, or maybe you don't even need hoarfrost, or it's just this area of the snowpack is very compact, and then you get some new snow on top of it that isn't as compact. And what that's creating is a weak layer between your two snow events. So here, I should probably label this. This is like your bed, and think of it as compact. Now, we have a big snow event like the one moving into the Sierra right now that drops another layer of snow on top of this. Let's actually fill it in there. But you have this weak layer between your bed and the fresh snow. And because of that, you now have this big slab on top that if there's any kind of disturbance, let's say it's a skier or a snowboarder or maybe just wind or something like that, it doesn't take much for that slab to slide off and turn into an avalanche. So hopefully that makes sense. It's often because there's two different layers, and especially if there's some kind of weak layer between the two. Now finally, let's do one more little blank slide here. This was the thing that I learned today that surprised me more than anything. So let's draw our mountain in. Maybe not the best mountain I've ever drawn, but if you've seen my rain shadow effect drawing, you would know that the majority of precipitation happens on the windward side of a mountain. Now, why is that? It's because you have warm air right here, and warm air rises up because it's being pushed up by the winds, but as it rises, it cools, and as it cools, it can't hold as much water vapor, so you end up getting a bunch of clouds on the windward side of the mountains, and those clouds fall as snow, and you pick up a large amount of snow over here. Majority of your precipitation is going to happen on the windward side. You maybe don't even have to go back and listen to my rain shadow effect video. That's pretty much the summary right there. So looking at this, which side do you think has more avalanches? Just like me, you would probably think, oh, it's the windward side that has the majority of avalanches. But it turns out this isn't actually true. And this will make sense in 1 second. So think about the way the winds are going. The winds are flowing this way. So what's going to happen is it's going to take some of the snow that you have on the windward side, and it's going to drift over to the leeward side right here. I should label that. Leeward, windward. Not the best handwriting. So you end up with this big layer because the wind is blowing some of that snow over the hill. Now this probably is starting to make a bit more sense. You don't have any snow below that thick bed that's building up on the top of the hill. So because there's nothing holding it up, that could easily turn into an avalanche. Oops, not that big of an avalanche. Let's go like that. So more avalanches happen on the leeward side than the windward side, which completely surprised me. Hopefully it surprised you as well. I think that pretty much covers everything that I learned about avalanches. If you know anything that I didn't cover, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll make another video. And yeah, hopefully this was helpful, and thanks for watching.